Hey, man.
What's happening?
Oh, apparently winter's back.
I know, so quick. Such a tease.
Jesus, seriously, man. It wasn't too long ago, barely 24 hours, that you and I were exchanging pleasantries at the lab under the nice sun and warmth of a 65-degree day, only for it to come crashing down on us today with gloominess. And my wife even says she saw a few snow flurries on the way to work.
Wow. I
Yeah.
guess you got to seize it while you got it.
Hey, man, yeah, I tried to do that yesterday and failed. But, what they say about Nashville, if you don't like the weather, stick around.
They say that about everywhere.
That's true, yeah, because it's always changing, so.
Yeah, well, your failure was my success, so I'm happy to report.
Oh, good. I'm glad I could do that for you yesterday.
Well, I was thinking about that, a little bit. It's kind of one of those things where you can find inspiration in a lot of ways. Well, so, I mean, it's an interesting topic in a way because we talk about Zwift. What is it, Zwift?
Zwift.
Yeah, and how, I always talk to people that are, how they say how it motivates them and how they sit there and, they look at it and go, damn it, my friend just did X, and how daunting it can be when they're following somebody that's just a machine. And, of course, you've just been a machine since the beginning of the year. Every once in a while, I'm like, man, I can't keep up with this guy. And then I saw you were human, and I'm like, well, maybe I'm not such a slouch. And I went out and I felt good about it.
Basking in the glory of your best friend's demise. Man,
Exactly.
You're a true friend.
I always said, I used to play drums and I would go out to watch bands or whatever, and I was always inspired by the really great bands, and then I was also really inspired by the really shitty ones. And different ways, but it was like, man, I could do that, or wow, I'd love to be able to do that. So I guess you find inspiration in different places if you look hard enough.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, training is kind of like my girlfriend, and we broke up yesterday, and you swooped in for sloppy seconds, and it took advantage of.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so for obviously, the only ones who probably still know what we're talking about. But before we clear up what we're actually talking about, this is actually, in fact, the Crushing Iron Triathlon Podcast. Today is Thursday, March 8th, 2018. We thank you for joining us. If you like what you hear or you've liked it already, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. We appreciate it. You taking the time to do that for us, and more importantly, for you allowing other triathletes or aspiring triathletes to find us and figure out if they're going to like us or not. It helps them out just as much, if not more than us. And if you want to catch up on everything that we do, you can always go to our website, crushingiron.com, where we talk camps. We have training camps and swim camps here in Nashville going from April to August. About 80-something, almost 90 people already registered so far. We've got information on coaching, on taking in athletes and going through personal customized coaching, as well as just offering training plans. And then we do swim analysis, run analysis. We've got a blog, gear, videos, all kinds of things. So you can always go to crushingiron.com. And but yeah, so yesterday I wake up, and it's kind of funny because the day before we talked about the difference between your mind and your body. Your mind, your body can do so many things, and oftentimes your mind convinces it can't. Well, yesterday was one of those days where I got up and my body was kind of already sending me those signals of probably not today, buddy. Probably not today. But my mind was saying, oh, but yes. Oh, but yes today. It's going to be, I think, it was going to be the nicest day of the week. And right now, when we're going back and forth, between inside and outside and 30s and 40s and 60s, I wanted it so bad yesterday. I wanted it to be a good day. I took the drive to the lab from my house, which is about 25 minutes, to get in, and I was hoping to be a 2-hour ride with some intervals in the middle, and I pretty much knew on the way there that it wasn't going to be good, but I kept trying to convince myself. I could feel my body just being like, "This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea," or don't expect much from me today. You can put me out there, but don't expect much. And I still went through the motions and went out there, and I knew from my first lap. The airfield, if you haven't listened before, is a abandoned airfield about a 1.25 miles around, with always some heavy wind. And like you said yesterday, if you're not just totally mentally in the game, it's absolute torture out there. Mm-hmm. And I've been both. I have been the guy that's come out there with a totally weak psyche and lasted like 20 minutes. Because it just leaves you out there with even if you have music in, leaves you out there with your thoughts and your fitness, and that's it. And I've also gone out there before with feeling incredible and done 100 miles on a 1.25 mile basic track. And so I've been on both sides of it. And yesterday I knew from my first lap it was going to be a struggle, and I went after it, and my body just said, "Hey man, not today. It's probably time for a break." And so I peeled off, and just as I was leaving, you pulled up, and kind of like you're a knight in Training Glory, ready to hit your bike session. And I had to pull away after our conversation, defeated and lifeless, knowing that you were going to go out and enjoy a great workout while I was retreating to the comfort of my own home to sit in my own despair and misery of needing some recovery.
Well, feel good in knowing that I've felt that feeling probably a dozen times this year. And if it was your first, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, it was. But it's just tough when you really, like I was telling Allie, she was like, "So how was it?" And I was like, "Oh, it was terrible. I did, I feel like I wasted an hour and a half of my day because I spent, if I knew I was going to do 45 minutes, I just would have thrown my bike on the trainer and spun for 45.
Yeah.
I packed up the bike. I made, I spent an extra hour and a half basically.
Packed the lunch.
Yeah, just trying to get everything else out and pack the bag. Took everything that I need, get there, get unpacked, hit it up, and then you just know that it's. And the lab is like I said, one of those places where if you ain't got it, you ain't got it, because you don't go anywhere, but you're the farthest point from your car and being done is about a half mile.
Yeah.
Depending on where. So you can always every single lap you go on, every 1.25 miles, there is a turn to where you can get to your car in less than 30 seconds.
Yep.
So it is always there it's always there screaming at you, and you look at it and you check it out. It's always there. And I guess I wasn't. Listen, like I told you, I was looking at a possible kind of short recovery block next week before the final tune-up for Texas. But yesterday I went out and was trying to hit the workout that was laid out for me, and just didn't have it. And so I just I was just more frustrated, I think, and wanting so bad to get it in and wanting to capitalize on the weather that maybe that kind of clouded my judgment that I probably should have known beforehand that I just wasn't going to have it, because I had a really sluggish bike session on Monday too, after probably 10 days of just incredible workouts, to be honest. And so it was just but yeah, it happens, and you got to be able to work through it, and I needed to kind of reshape things and reframe it, and live to fight another day.
Yeah, let me ask you this: when you went out there and you had that feeling in your body, did you try, kind of ease into it? Because there's this, it's a lot of times, just getting there and getting it going can kind of wake up the body and sort of get you in the right mindset. But a lot of times, like we've talked about before, where I've gone out and I've just not been there, and I've just like kind of pushed it like over the top. and that sort of wakes me up. Which approach did you take?
Well, I was going to ride for 2 hours, and I had two 20-minute longer intervals at about 85 to 90% effort, and I waited until the 40-minute mark to even try and wake them up, just because they were already taking a while. Which right now with the training load is common for me. Just it takes a while to loosen up, and so I did a couple bursts, and they woke up pretty good. And then as I started to try and attempt my first 20-minute interval, I got to like the 3-minute mark, and I was just like, this isn't going anywhere.
Isn't it funny, like somehow how that can be? Because like the feeling I get out there is sometimes I'm just like in a pocket, in a zone, and I'm just like because you have to be there to, like you said, to keep going around that loop. But sometimes it can just feel incredibly lonely and desolate, and like, what the hell am I doing out here?
Yeah, that's what I had yesterday.
Like those are I mean, I don't think that's uncommon, for any places outside of there as well. I think people can get out there you get out on your bike by yourself or whatever sometimes, and while I think we both sort of lean towards that training alone thing because of the toughness, but sometimes it's just not there. That's when you need, and that's why I jokingly, because you said, hey, I'm hitting the lab at 10, I think, and I end up showing up about 10:45, and you're on your way out, and I'm like, shit, if I would have just came around 10, maybe we could have pushed through this together. It could have been like a inspirational sharing moment with the both of us. But I think sometimes that isolation can really get inside you. Like, man, it's not coming today. What am I doing? What is my life about? It's like,
what's my life? Yeah. Go back. Yeah, I got home and I was like, maybe I should just give up and do underwater basket weaving. No, it was just it does. You have these thoughts that it's how it always is. It's like, and I tell my athletes this all the time, like, listen, 10% of the time you're going to feel like a professional, and you're going to want to sign up for 10 more Ironman for that year, and the other 10% of the time you're going to feel like you want to quit, and you should sell your bike and put it on eBay immediately and take up rec league basketball. And then the other 80% of the time, it just kind of is what it is. Like, it's like nothing to report, nothing, nothing but the usual. And it's like you should never make. And I haven't had like a discussion with an athlete this last week. I said, I really have 2 rules about decision making. Don't make it on your worst day, and don't make it on your best day. Because we always make decisions on our worst day, like we should just not do these races anymore because we just can't handle it. And then we make other decisions about the other end of the spectrum on our best day. Well, maybe I should just bump up in distance. Like, who needs the half marathon? Let's just do the full.
Yeah.
That's today. Let's tell me how you feel. So I really try to like get athletes to have like a window of, all right, let's just sit down and see if you feel the same way. Because we just feelings come and go. And did I have like a bunch of huge negative feelings yesterday? It was just more frustrating. But I was like, it's also, it's okay to listen to your body. Like I do. I see some of the benefits of these. Definitely, I see benefits in training with others. I see benefits of training virtually on software or whatever it is. But sometimes I think that you can also dig yourself a hole by like if my body was really telling me no yesterday. And you had texted me and said you were coming down, and I continued on, what kind of shape would I be in today? Would I be glad that I stuck it around and powered through, or would my body be like, hey dude, we need a much longer break, and really suppress the immune system and stress more? So there's a fine line, and a lot of times you just ain't even gonna know. It's you can't go back and look in a crystal ball or whatever and see what was right or what was wrong. But and generally, like when you're under like a really high training load anyway, you're a little more quiet. You can be a little more grumpy. It's just you need to you just need you need days like that to remember that you're human and that things aren't always going to be great, and listen to your body, and then don't make any decisions. Just wake up the next day and see what happens.
Yeah, I think ideally the way to go is to, I mean, I think if I would have shown up, and there is power in numbers, and there's power in people and stuff like that, and to get it going, I talk about it all the time. But the race energy, for example, I feel like if I can train, on my own a lot, when I get to the race, it's there's just an extra energy that's gonna help pull me through no matter what. So I think that, I don't know what that's worth, but I think you're right. So last night, man, I was up reading. I got this new book, and I think it kind of applies in this situation. It's called 10% Happier by Dan Harris. Have you heard of it?
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, he's an ABC. He was a news correspondent. He's on the Anchor, but he essentially, it kind of weaves through. He's sort of being branded as this guy. Like, I've been hearing him on some podcasts. He's been on the, I'm not huge on the news people or whatever, but for working in it for so long and everything like that, and we talk about how news is like what whatever it's turned into. But anyway, they're kind of branding him as the guy who's bringing meditation to the mainstream, and he goes into this stuff about how he was in the war and he's a war correspondent. There's a lot about addiction and like the adrenaline rush of war, and how coming back, how he didn't realize it, but he was actually depressed. And so he got into, late night partying, and he was into cocaine, and he was getting that rush and stuff like that. And he ended up having a panic attack live on air where he couldn't talk while he was at the anchor desk. And it was and he had no idea what was going on, and obviously, they just said he was depressed, and he started getting on some stuff and whatever. And so anyway, along the lines, he was working for Peter Jennings at the time, and Peter Jennings wanted him to be the religion reporter. And so he wasn't into that, and he was he said agnostic at best, but he started covering it, and he was kind of having fun with these crazy religion stories and stuff like that. Eventually, he kind of got into, someone told him about Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. And so he started interviewing guys like him and Deepak Chopra and the guy who put together The Secret and all these sorts of things. And I was like, where's he? I couldn't really figure out where the book was going, because I knew it was going to land on meditation at some point. But he was talking about how all these evangelists like that, or these writers and stuff, were kind of like, had all these kind of interesting theories, but really didn't have any remedy or like any action steps, or like they would just kind of talk about it a lot and go into these long diatribes about how you just have to be in the moment, and if you're not in the moment and you think about the moment, your thinking brain is overthinking the moment or whatever. And he just was getting really confused. Anyway, he kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of these people are just sort of repurposing, like Eckhart Tolle. They basically talk about how he basically is just repurposing Buddhism in his own words and becoming a bestseller through Oprah's,
oh yeah,
igniting. So anyway, he got into that kind of evangelism thing a little bit, and how these people and I think it's just interesting because so many people are selling so many things, and it started to make me think about why I like talking about what the stuff we were just talking about, which was the honesty part of it, struggles, and we don't really talk about like all the answers and stuff like that, and we just sort of like talk about our experience.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like we should be putting out like these catchy headlines and all these sort of like solutions to triathlon, and I just don't know if there is. I mean, I'm actually, it made me kind of feel good about talking about how we're always on the consistency train, and you just have to find your own way and stuff like that. And I think that's eventually where it's going. As in meditation, you can't prescribe meditation as the solution. You have to explore meditation as your own solution. And I just thought that was pretty applicable to our situation with regards to how you were really struggling yesterday, and how it's not always cupcakes and berries out there in the world.
No, it definitely isn't. But it's, and I think a lot of it, like, and like you said, like we probably get a lot more original hits on our on our podcast if it was like everything you need to know about triathlon, or the 10 fastest ways to get fast. In triathlon, like, and shit like that people post, or headlines like the 5 must-do workouts of every Ironman triathlete, and you're like, wait a minute, like that's not true. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and as a coach, like I like one of the main parts of my job is fielding questions. Questions about this, questions about that. I see athletes doing this, I see athletes doing that. What about this equipment? I've heard this, I've been told this. And at some point you're just like, listen, I'm a huge fan of exploration, in terms of, always, I don't want to say always questioning your beliefs, but always being open to listen, because in things like religion and politics and your own specific diet, like, you can get so defensive that your way is the right way, no matter what. And you'll argue and look for, I mean, in science is the same way. Listen, there is science out there that almost proves everything to be great, and also the same exact thing to be just absolutely terrible. There's science for everything. And we always look for things to validate what we believe, and kind of the what we've hung our hat on, so we look for those things. We don't look for things that challenge ourselves, and so I'm all for exploration and challenging yourself about what we might know, what we might not know. Are you open to change? And as coaches too, you have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and look at things, all right, and maybe I should change this, or maybe I haven't been totally right, or maybe I've been right, but maybe I can do it better. But in terms of training, like you said, like, there comes a point to where you have to close ranks, turn off the noise, and just go. And say, you know what? This is, we always say, like, race with the horse you trained on. I've got my horse. I'm done shopping. I'm done reading. I'm done researching. Because what happens is you no longer become 100% invested in what you're doing. You become a dabbler. I'm invested, but what about this? Right. And so you look at your training plan, and you're like, yeah, but I just read so and so do this and so and so. Maybe I should be upping my volume. I think I'm going to twitch. I think I'm going to up my volume now. And you're always doing that. Like we said a couple podcasts ago, you're becoming reactionary versus actionary, and you can't. You have, like I said, at some point you have to come to the realization of, you know what, I've chosen this path. I've chosen, my way to get there. Like, think about it as like, you see these, and they're definitely athletes. You see these individuals go on these rim to rim hikes, or these, these, like the Appalachian Trail. They do all their research. They walk up to the first post, and they go. You think they spend 1 second between point A and then the hundreds of miles to point Z doing research about what they could have or should have or might or could have taken with them?
Mm-hmm.
No. 0. Because they got what they got. And at some point, there's this like diminishing return of curiosity and wasting of time and questioning and yeah, but this, or I read this, or so and so this, and you know what, I'm going to do this now, and I'm going to change my diet 9 times this year, and I'm going to go from high intensity to low intensity 6 times this year, and I'm going to flip-flop back and forth between all these different things. Well, listen, if you really want to get a good data set and you really want to figure out what works for you, then stick to something.
Yeah.
Stick to something. Like, don't go back and forth. Like, that's just it's a huge, confusing, chaotic, addiction in triathlon is like most triathletes will never know what works for them, ever, because they flip-flop all the damn time between one thing or the next, or needing this or not needing this. And so, if you're, especially the closer you get to race day, like 30, 60, 90, even more than out, you've packed what you've packed. You've chosen the gear that's going to get you there. You've chosen the route. You've chosen the method. Stop looking around. Focus and pretend like you're that. I don't know what they call them. Through hikers. That's what they call them. Through hikers. Pretend you're a through hiker. They won't spend 1 second. You think they get out their smartphone on like mile 88 and look up 20 best items for through hiking, and so they can just look at all the things they don't have, and obsess about the things that they don't have. They don't do any of it. They don't spend 1 single second worrying about what they don't. They spend every single second focused on what they do. And if we can just do that, and like you said, listen to yourself, listen to your body, because to the extent of what you said about, well, what if you had gone out there and didn't, like, oh yeah, well, Mike's doing this, I'm just going to plow through. Well then my focus and listening to my body no longer is me listening to my body and maybe what I should do. It becomes, what do I need to do to keep up with Mike?
Yeah.
Or I'm listening more to Mike's body than I am my own. And then maybe I wake up today shelled and I can't move or do anything for 3 days. And so it's just we've done the, you're owning your own journey podcast, but it's just like this. And there's so much information out there. And to be honest with you, so much of it is just flat out terrible. A lot of it's terrible. And triathletes are the kings of just giving it. Well, it is. A lot of it's terrible.
Yeah, a lot of it's terrible, but it's so fractured, that some things can be good here and there or whatever, but like we talked about before, but like it's like if you're on a path, like you said, stick to it. I mean, there's a lot of plans. I mean, like, you don't know. There's subjectivity in all this stuff, and like you said, you can't just try dabble in all. I mean, unless you're trying to formulate your own thing, which I tend to do sometimes. But I mean, there's nothing, I guess, wrong with that if you're kind of trying to find your own, perfect method or whatever like that. I have nothing, against that ever. But it's just like at some point you got to just stick with something to figure out if it really does work. And there's just so many nibbles out there. You were saying that about the thru hikers, and I was like, well, maybe today's thru hikers do that once in a while. They hit their phone and they're like halfway through and they're like, hey, what else can we do up here? What are the sights to see? And I just feel like it's the distraction mentality that takes us over. And it is. It's always like, this isn't quite working for me today, but it should be working, because you're just thinking there's always something better. And that's where I think a lot of people get into trouble, is that, it's always that looking at the other side of the fence, man, and thinking, man, this doesn't feel right or whatever. You just have to believe in it. It's all about finding you, not finding other people's success stories necessarily.
Well, and the reality is that, I think we do is because we're so uncomfortable with it. Not is some days are supposed to be shitty.
Yeah. But
we're
challenging.
or challenging, or just not good. But when they become, shitty and challenging, we think, oh well, they should all be good. So what am I doing wrong?
Right.
How can I change what I'm doing? I need to revamp everything. Let's scrap it. I've had 3 weeks straight of really, really good training. This has all worked. I'm seeing good. Oh, I had a shoe day. Well, back to the drawing board. Let's just scrap it. But we do that, like in everything, and like in I think we do it in life and in relationships and business and all. It's like, it's worked for like the past few months. Say it didn't work. All right, let's change things.
Yep.
And it's just not that time. Like, listen, we live in reality. We live in life where we're like as little in control as you can possibly imagine. And if every day was great, then like you're probably not pushing the boundaries of stuff anyway. But it's just like, not every day is going to be great. Not every day is going to feel good, and so just because it goes to shit one day doesn't mean it's time to totally change things up, or maybe I can't, or I need this, instead of just be like, you know what, I just honestly, I just have to accept that today is going to suck. Yeah. And sometimes, honestly, that is the best approach to dealing with your day. As much as I wanted to, like, you know what, I'm going to go home, I'm going to try and get a run in, I'm going to go hit the pool, I'm going to make something out of the day. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to accept it that I ain't got it today, and that today sucks, and I feel like crap. That's it.
That's it.
I don't need to change anything. I don't need to change anything.
You don't need to
change one. I don't need to change one thing. One thing.
Yeah, that reminds me of my old boss, who the shower idea. We would have a tough day at work, or something wasn't. Like one day, like you said, things are going great, and then one day would go off, and usually it was about news ratings or something. If we had a bad news rating day, he'd come in the next day, and we'd have a nice plan in place, and one day would be off, and he'd be like, I thought of something in the shower today. We're gonna change it up. I'd be like, shit. Mm-hmm. It's like this change of state, change of mind, change direction, and how easily that can happen in today's world. Because like you said, I mean, you can be going, like yesterday, it would have been real easy for you as like to start searching triathlon fatigue or whatever, and then the next thing you know, you're like going down a completely different road just because you had one little blip in the process. And like I said, man, you had, what did you say, 45 minute ride. It wasn't a great ride, I said, but it was 45 minutes. It was something, you just got out and moved it. And who knows, that could have, if it didn't happen, that could have made your day, a little bit even worse. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You never know, I guess.
You never know.
So it was just something like that, I think you ought to accept that. I don't think you should get too down on yourself, man.
Oh, I'm not. I'm over it.
Just a little console. I was just consoling you, man.
Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, well, you shouldn't be. Yeah, you should be. You just feel guilty. You just should have training guilt. Hey, man, I'm really, really sorry about your training day yesterday, because mine was awesome. So
I went on and threw down probably the best bike ageti I've had in a year.
Oh, good God!
And
see?
I
rub it in.
I took a little time off in between and went off for a nice hard run after that too. I got my fast twitch going yesterday.
Jesus.
I'm feeling pretty good today. I might have to. No.
Yeah. See. Yeah, but no. I mean, I think it's. Listen, there's, like you said. I don't know if you said they were all going to be berries and rainbows, but they're not. They're just not. Whatever that is. Sounds like a cereal. Not every day is going to be, raspberries and rainbows. And honestly, it's some. That's why, I'm not 100% always against it, but I tend to always lean against not making up workouts. I missed today because I just couldn't get it in. Well, not usually. Usually just kind of missed it because you didn't choose to get it in when you had the opportunity to. Or you were just too tired to get it in. Yeah. So your body's telling you need one less, so why am I going to take that one more and just move it to the other end of the scale so it weighs you down later in the week? Mm-hmm. And so it's being okay with that. We have that drawing board mentality, where we just have to scrap everything and start. Or like you said, like I've worked for bosses before, like, oh man, I had this idea. Let's do this. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought we just started to do this 2 weeks ago. We haven't even gotten halfway through it yet. Yeah, but this is the ticket. This is where it's at. This is going to get me faster. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, oh, dude, look what I read. This is the way to go. We got to do this. Ben Greenfield says if you don't eat for 3 weeks and you stand in the middle of the earth for 5 days in a row, you will become a supernatural human being and never need any kind of sustainable life to live forever. Let's go.
Yeah, and it's usually it's usually eye candy or eye dressing or what do you call that? It's like when I was in the news, my boss would always come in with this idea of like, we would have this really like, structured sort of like plan about how to, make our content better and how to deliver more to the viewer and be better and like better reporting and more balanced, whatever. And he would come in with this, it was always something like, we need to change the graphics or we need to change the colors of our set, or we need to, change the slogan. And it was always, something like that. And I was like, really? I mean, where is this going to go? And I mean, I think
you're like, that's it? That's what you came up with? We need to change the graphics.
Yeah. So we'd spend 3 weeks just hammering out new graphics and launch a new graphic, and nothing would change. And people wouldn't even notice. That was the thing. Is like, and there's an analogy there. It's like you change up your workouts and nothing happens. Nothing of note. Maybe one day. It's like people feel good about it. Like, wow, those look great. We look great. Don't the new graphics look awesome? Yeah. I love your new bike, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And then 2 days later, nobody cares about your new bike.
Yep.
And they're still wondering why you can't keep up. But I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's that's that drawing board mentality. We always have. But hey, it's.
Well, I think a lot of people have this kind of, like you're talking about the missed workouts and stuff like that. I remember when especially when I started. I mean, I think that's a genuine fear that people have when they're training for an Ironman and they miss one workout. 7 months before the race, they think that they need to make it up. I remember being with the guys, and we were all thinking that too. How am I going to squeeze in this 2-hour ride into the rest of my week, or whatever the case may be? Mm-hmm. And it was a legitimate fear that I think a lot of people have. But I mean, yeah, I think it takes time to have the confidence and the realization that sometimes if you don't have it and you don't feel it, pushing it over the top is a worse solution. Yeah. You just have to accept the fact that time is gone.
Mm-hmm. Because you're just not supposed to have it every day.
No, you have what you have.
Yeah, exactly. You're not supposed to have it every day, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just kind of like
But there's that fine line, though, right? Between every morning I don't feel like working out, so pretty much. So it's like some days you just gotta get
yeah, that sounds like more of a personal problem than that's more of a mindset and motivation issue than it is a bodily rejection of what you're trying to force it to do.
If somehow we could convince God to put the sun out at 10 o'clock at night or midnight, I would be on fire.
Dude, I'd never sleep. But yeah, for guys like you, it'd be gold.
I wonder if I should move to Alaska in the summer and train while there's 24 hours of light.
Try it, man. See if it works. That's the drawing board theory. I'm gonna go back to drawing.
Yeah, I think I need to move to Alaska.
Yeah, that's it. I think I need to move to Denver. You've done that shit already, so. But yeah, it is. It's always, the grass is always greener. And we talked about it before, but and especially this time of year when I would gather most of our listeners are ramping up training volume, or it's at least increasing, or it's at least getting to be a little more intense. It's just like remembering that if you really want to figure out what works for you, then you have to stick with it. It's like working on mechanics for a basketball, like for a basketball player. Like if you're always changing their mechanics like every 3 or 4 weeks or even every month or two, you're just never going to figure out what works. You can't always be tinkering. Don't be a triathlon tinkerer. I've got to change this, I've got to change that, I got to change my fit 6 times this year. I've got to do this. Like sometimes you just got to go and you got to ride it and you got to do great things with what you have, instead of wasting so much time and energy on researching different ways to do things. Because really, to me, like all that tells me when when I see other athletes, it's just like you're not totally bought in, and
Yeah.
you're not 100% invested. Because if you were, you wouldn't be spending time looking at, if you have all your money in the world and it's all into one stock, you're not wasting time looking at another one. You're like, how is my stock going to do good? Why is it going to do good? But it's being totally bought in and totally invested in what you've chosen to do and how you've chosen to get there, and stop window shopping and stop tinkering and redrawing everything, because when I see that, I just see a lack of confidence, because it's easy to get confident behind a distraction or behind a new way. It's like January 1st, everyone becomes a nutritionist and a dietitian. Everybody becomes a professional chef in terms of telling you what you should eat or why you should eat it or why you should do a fruit juice plant Cheerio cleanse and why you shouldn't. Like, I'd rather talk to somebody who's lived healthy and been healthy year round that does a performance, rather than going all in on this new thing. Because and then you see the same people doing something different 4 months later. It's like you're not one to, more oftentimes not, you're just not totally invested. And if you really want to figure it out, you got to totally invest, stick with it, stay focused, see the results, and then figure it out. But you can't figure it out in like 4 to 5 months. You just can't. Like I know athletes that have been out there. I've seen them. I've heard of them. That change coaches like 4 times a year, or have had, have had basically go from coach to coach to coach to coach to coach to coach to coach. And they're never satisfied. They're always like, listen, is there a time and a place to switch coaches? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. There always will be. That's just the nature of the business. But ones that change it 3 or 4 times a year, we all know that athlete or that person that changes coaches like 4 times a year, or it's always the coach's fault. Where it's, and listen, the coaches have plenty of blame to go around. There is no such thing as a coach that's perfect for every athlete. I'm definitely not perfect for every athlete, or a good fit for every athlete. But, it's always the grass is always greener. You're always window shopping. You're always back to the drawing board, and you get more excited about the change than you do the consistency in sticking with something and the commitment. And so, if you have to pick between committing to consistency or gaining confidence from change, those are 2 very, very different things.
Yeah. It's usually not the therapist. It's usually your reaction to the therapy.
Yep.
Does that sound about right?
That's actually pretty much dead on.
Yeah. So how, in today's world, how have you responded to your yesterday?
I feel a little better this morning. Instead of doing anything yesterday afternoon, like I said, I got home with Hayden. We played outside for a little bit and just did something else. I'm going to do, I'm still going to run and swim today. I'm going to do an easy run and then a swim. But a light swim, super relaxed, super chill, just kind of keep things, because sometimes, or more oftentimes, not doing something is better than doing nothing. And so I'll do just a short, like 30-minute run, probably on the treadmill, just to keep the impact easier on the legs. Easy swim, like probably not even 2,000, just kind of get wet and keep my feel for the water, hit the sauna for a little bit, and call it a day. Yep.
Sounds like a good response. Sounds like a intelligent, mature response.
Yeah, responsible response. It's active recovery. It's not taking the whole day off, and it's not also getting up trying to prove to myself that yesterday was, a sham by trying to go out and do 5 hours today.
I was going to say, so you're not going to go back to the lab, try to recreate that workout, then swim, then run?
Nope, no bike today at all. Not even going to get on it. Might not even look at it.
That's going to be hard.
Yeah, it is. It's in my garage where the car is. But I'll try to shield my eyes. But yeah, man, just moving on and not changing and taking what the day and the training has given me and go from there.
Mm-hmm. How many weeks till Texas?
Let's see. Starting next Monday, have about 3 weeks and before race week.
Oh.
But yeah.
So you're in
So 4 weeks from the Monday.
Okay.
Yep, 4 weeks from Monday.
So you're you're building it up, getting the speed going.
Build and then peak, and a little bit more building. Probably more as far as next week goes, and then a little bit of a short little peak, and then hopefully peak on the 8th, which is race day. We'll see how hot it's going to be. Just trying to keep on the heat acclimation and trying to do my best with that leading up to it, and just keep doing the small things right, keep things happy, keep things light, keep things in perspective, and I'm still really, really happy with where I'm at. Yesterday doesn't change that. So, but yeah, things will get down and dirty and serious here the next 3 weeks, and then shed some fatigue, go race, have fun, give it hell, and see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're looking at probably on average 10 to 15 degrees warmer down there. 20 maybe?
Probably 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gonna be a bit toasty.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be aware of that, man.
I know. I'm doing my run on the treadmill today. Will be in the garage with no fan on the treadmill with long sleeves on.
Really?
Yep.
Hoodie up?
No hoodie. Little
stocking
excessive.
cap? Yeah.
No stocking cap. Well, I just wear my hat. That's about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So.
Well, we got a little bit longer, but Chattanooga 70.3 is coming up May 20th.
Yeah, not too far away. We'll have a ton of our own athletes there, and then a ton of the forum. If you're a listener and want to be part of the conversation, haven't joined it yet, you can always look us up on Facebook, search Crushing Iron Group, and ask to be let in. You can hop on in and join with all the other listeners of the podcast. But yeah, there's quite a bit. I think easily over 50. And as we get closer to that date, we'll put something together so we can meet up at some point and get to meet each other face to face, which is kind of rare these days, and have a good time. And hope everybody races well, and we hope everyone's training is going well too. Yeah.
It's going to be an exciting time. We got an April camp in between there.
Yeah, April, the weekend I get back. The next weekend I get back from Texas camp.
Oh, you'll be ready to roll.
Yeah, man, be looking for some chill time and barking orders, and yeah, I'm pumped. It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. You got anything else on your plate?
That's all I got on my plate, man. Small plate today, small plate Wednesday, or Thursday rather. And have a great weekend. Good luck to everyone who's racing. Half marathons, Ironman races, triathlons, sprint tries, indoor tries, you name it. We hope you do well.
Yeah, and let us know how you did.
Yeah.
About your experience. Please come in and tell us about your races. No matter what. Just kind of give us a little feedback. See if
keep us in the loop.
Keep us in the loop. Always introduce yourself on the new Facebook group when you come in there. Check out crushingiron.com for all things that we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Subscribe to YouTube Crushing Iron. Get some video action going, and all the podcasts come out through YouTube as well. And I guess that's it.
That's it, man.
Go get an eye exam here in a little bit.
Oh.
I've come to the conclusion that I'm just not seeing the course well enough. So get a new prescription.
Oh man, talk about trying to change how you see life. You're taking it to the extreme, going to the eye doctor.
Yeah, I really just want them to give me my same prescription, but they won't do it. So whatever.
Yeah, they gotta redo everything.
There's always got to be a hook.
Always a hook, man. Well, good luck. Hope things go well there, and I'll check you later.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. See you, dude.
Bye.